everyone. I must say that that was the coolest conference opening I have ever seen in my life. And I've been to a lot of conferences. So I have one question, Matthias, where's my fire? I have to have fire for my talk. But seriously, this morning, I am going to talk about beyond code, the role of developers in the age of AI. I know many of you, like myself, often think about the impacts of AI on software engineering, and what does that mean for our role today, tomorrow, and years down the road. I'd like to start with a poll, and I've been waiting for a long time to ask this question because I want to see who's going to beat me. Who here has been coding for at least 5 years? Raise your hands. Okay, most of you. Who has been coding for at least 10 years? And I'm going to raise my hands too. 10 years, okay? 15 years. 20 years. 25? 30? 35? Okay, I've been coding 35. I was thinking no one was going to beat me. All right, 40? Oh, wow. Hats off. I'm stopping at 40. Hats off to you guys. That's a lot of coding. So I wrote my first line of basic programming in 1990 on a setup similar to this. My father purchased a personal computer from a store called Radio Shack to do the family finances. And he put this computer in his office that also doubled as my playroom. And so I had my toys over here, and I had this PC over here, which to me was just another toy. And I literally would spend hours writing code. And I have fond memories of my mom calling upstairs to me, Kesha, you've been in that room for such a long time. What are you doing? And I would say, oh, nothing. I'm just playing on the computer. And I turned playing on the computer into 30-plus years of writing code and 30 years of fun. And back then, I didn't even realize that what I was doing was called coding. To this day, for me, it's still playing on the computer. And I even remember my very first Java program. And I remember when Java was released, I researched the language, and I said, oh, wow, this language is going to take over the world. This is where I need to take my career. So I left the organization where I was working, and I started working at Delta Airlines because they gave me an opportunity to learn Java on the job. Who remembers their very first Java program? Probably all of us. So my very first program was a Java applet. And I remember back then building websites and web applications, everything was static. And so my first applet was a button that when you clicked on the button, it looked like the button was depressed. And so it had two images, an image of a normal button and an image of a clicked button. And that was my very first Java applet, adding interactions to a static website. And it was a wild ride. We've come a long way since then. So I've told you a little bit about my history, and I'm sure you're thinking, well, who are you and what do you do today? Like they said, my name is Kesha Williams. I currently serve as a Senior Director of Enterprise Architecture and Engineering for a company called Slalom. It's a global management consulting firm. We help people build better software. I'm very passionate about AI and machine learning and the cloud and sharing my knowledge with others. So Amazon recognizes me as a machine learning hero, and I also share my knowledge through courses that I author on LinkedIn. I love to tell people about my journey using my technology timeline. I told you I started with basic, And then I did web applications using C, CGI, Common Gateway Interface, and HTML. And then I migrated to the precursor to .NET, active server pages, VB script, ActiveX controls, and then my life changed when I was introduced to Java, and I've never really looked back. So Java, servlets, JSP, from struts to Spring, then to the cloud, AWS, and now AI and machine learning. So today we're going to talk about the AI disruption, what that means for our roles as a developer. We'll look at the consequences of AI, and then we'll wrap up with advice and next steps. So let's start with this AI disruption. Unless you've been sitting under a rock, you've heard about AI and how it's coming for jobs. The CEO of Meta, Facebook, says that AI agents might claim jobs from humans writing apps and AI code in 2025. So he said this sometime last year, and this did not age well because the word might really should say will. Facebook, Meta, they've recently announced laying off 5% of their workforce, really targeting entry-level engineers and junior engineers. And they say that they will not hire junior engineers anytime soon. The NVIDIA CEO says the future of coding as a career might already be dead in the water with the imminent prevalence of AI. He also says that Gen AI can claim coding professional roles and make us redundant. And he aims to create computing technology that does not need to be programmed, and that the only programming language should be human, whatever that means. And Salesforce is joining the bandwagon. They are seriously debating hiring software engineers in 2025 due to the incredible productivity gains from AI agents. They envision AI agents working side by side with their engineers. And they claim that software engineering has become more productive in the last 2 years because of AI. And lastly, my favorite, AWS, has joined this bandwagon. The CEO said, if you go forward 24 months from now, it's possible that most developers are not coding, and that we'll be forced to upskill and gain new skills and really focus on the what we're building instead of actually doing the building. So when I hear that statement, it makes me think. So is he saying that developers and software engineers turn into business analysts, product owners, project managers? That is not what I signed up for. And so if we aren't coding 2 years from now, then what are we doing? Are we still relevant? Are we still needed? I say, yes, we are. And then I ask myself, am I a part of the last generation of engineers to actually write code from scratch, starting from a blank slate? And I think so. I think we are in the last generation of software engineers to do that. So now let's talk about the developer role and how that role now intersects in this new world with AI. Did you know that AI can touch every life cycle phase? So raise your hands. How many of you have used AI already at some point in one of these life cycle phases? A lot of you. That's more than I thought. So we can use AI to generate code, generate unit tests, help us design the code structure. AI can even do code reviews for us. AI can even comment our code, which is one thing I think most engineers don't enjoy doing. Like, who has time for that? You can use AI. Designing, detecting, and fixing errors. Now, that's a fun way to help boost your productivity, using AI to fix your code errors. But for me, like, my code never has bugs, so I may not make use of that feature. You can use AI to document test plans from user stories, generate integration tests, find security holes and vulnerabilities in your code, and identify reliability bottlenecks. It sounds like AI can do a lot of what we do. So where does this leave us? And because of AI, and I have a problem with this, everyone is now a technologist. Anyone can write code using AI. I would say it's not going to be great code, but anyone can write code using AI and get that code put in production. And I'll talk more about my experiences with that. So when I think about the role of a developer, yes, we write code, but there are other things that we do outside of that. And being able to code, I've picked up a lot of other skills because of that coding discipline. That's something that you just don't gain overnight. So first, critical thinking. I'm very analytical. I'm really able to look at a problem, break it down, analyze it, and figure out the best next steps. Being a coder taught me how to do that. Problem solving. I'm great at problem solving. I can find a solution. I can find 3 or 4 solutions to a problem because I've learned how to code and methodically think through solving problems. Communication. Being a coder taught me great communication. Having to explain all of these complex technical topics to non-technical people, it forces you to become a better communicator. And strategic thinking, thinking through not just what we need from an application today, but how that application will grow and change and evolve years down the road. Being a coder taught me about great leadership, team leadership, and just really playing to everyone's strengths when I'm forming a team, building a team, and making team assignments. And just creative thinking, just thinking outside of the box. All of these skills that I've learned from being a coder, AI cannot do any of this. In this new world, we're really going to have to rely on these other skills to make us stay relevant. I mentioned now, because of Gen AI, everyone is a technologist. Everyone can write code. There are consequences of AI. Who's heard of the term citizen dev or citizen development? Only a few people. So maybe this is a term that's just starting to gain traction back in the United States. But every time I hear this term, it makes me cringe. So just think of someone taking their nails and just dragging it on the chalkboard. That is how I feel on the inside when people talk about citizen dev. So what is it? This is when non-technical people that have no experience in the systems development or the software development lifecycle use AI to build software, and they put it in production without any guardrails. No thoughts about user requirements, about usability, scalability, long-term maintenance. Hey, did you realize once you put code in production, you need to maintain it and keep it updated? No thought about security and high availability. And I've seen this happen firsthand, almost daily. People build a Copilot, and they just release it to production. And so a lot of organizations are really starting to focus on enabling citizen developers. Another consequence is this rapid delivery. A lot of organizations now have this mindset to go fast and break things. And this AI adoption is really outpacing security, compliance, and ethical considerations. And it risks things like security vulnerabilities, data breaches, bias models, and regulatory violations. No governance. I alluded to that earlier. I've seen a lot of organizations where they fail to impose governance because they don't want to stifle innovation. They want people to play around and try things and learn things, and so it's like the wild, wild west. Just go out there and have fun, and then a lot of that fun ends up in production. Shadow AI. So who's familiar with shadow IT? Yes. So I've grown up in a culture and an environment where shadow IT is never really a good thing. It's where business people procure IT systems and release those systems in the environment without oversight from IT, without knowledge from IT, and without including IT. Most times, we're able to catch systems like that before they make it to production because they often come back when they need to integrate those systems back and get our data, or they need SSO. And I remember having a conversation with one of my business users who had gone out, procured an IT system, signed a multi-year contract without ever involving IT in the conversation. And when I reviewed the contract and I reviewed the system, I said, oh, do you realize that this system that you've chosen does not expose APIs for us to integrate with? So that means if you want our data in that system, you're going to have to do it manually on your own. Shadow IT, never a good thing. But now there's shadow AI. And it's even worse than shadow IT, because now there's a possibility of agents running free in your systems, accessing your data, doing who knows what. So, in this new world, how can developers help? We can be mentors, we can be guides, we can help to set guardrails, put governance in place, help people with system thinking, system reviews, system designs. We can be enablers and protectors in this democratized environment. We also now have a more strategic role to play on projects. We can teach people about best practices. We can enable these citizen developers. We even can help AI work better by providing feedback and making it better. And that's the AI oversight piece. We turn into system architects, helping people architect and design systems across the organization, and play a role in system orchestration as we're starting to design more and more complex systems that may need to call out to an LLM, may need to call out to a third-party API, may need data from a database, but just helping to orchestrate those systems. With all this, I face a dilemma because everything that I've said, nothing of it is coding, which for me is the fun part of being a software engineer. I love the hands-on keyboard, building from scratch, creating something new, figuring out how to architect beautiful code where someone takes 5 lines, I bet I can get that down to 1 line. All of that is fun. All of what I love as a software engineer is in jeopardy because of AI. And everything that I mentioned, it's all about helping others, enabling others, protecting data, protecting systems. But as software engineers, how do we enable and how do we help ourselves too? How do we not lose the fun and rewarding pieces of being a developer? And how do we prepare ourselves to thrive in this new world? For me, the answer is very simple, and there are 2 parts to it. First, we have to learn how to effectively use AI to boost our productivity, and then we have to learn how to build AI. So we use AI, and we stay hands-on keyboard by learning how to build AI. And after this talk, I'd love to catch up and hear what you all think we can do to help ourselves thrive in this new world. Gartner projects by 2028, 75% of enterprise software engineers will use AI code assistance. And I asked the question earlier, and several of you raised your hand. This is up by 10% from early 2023. I've also noticed several hiring trends and changes in the United States. There's a demand for AI engineering, and it's up by 74%. There's a rise in demand for engineers that know how to use AI and integrate AI via APIs into existing systems. That demand is up by 62%. Data science, up by 58%. And AI-paired programming, up by 56%. So in our last few minutes, I'm going to offer my advice and my next steps. And this advice I actually need to take myself, but then I think about it. I've been doing this for 30+ years. I think I'm ready to retire. So this advice is for you all. So where do you start if you want to learn AI? They're laying off entry-level programmers today. Tomorrow, it could be mid-level programmers. The day after that, it could be senior-level programmers. The first step is to have a mindset shift and really realize where things are headed. And so start to see AI as a partner, not a competitor, as something that can help boost your productivity so that you can start to play more strategic roles on projects. And then use AI so that you're not starting from a blank page. Upskill in AI frameworks, and then take that knowledge to start to build AI. A path could look something like this. First, just start with using coding assistance as you're writing your Java code. As you're doing that, you're practicing prompt engineering, which is another very important skill. The better you are at prompting, the better the responses and the accuracy of the models that you're using. So start with your coding assistance, practice and really perfect prompt engineering, and then start to look at ways to integrate these LLMs into your systems via APIs. Next, start to understand just the basics, like pulling back the layers, understanding how the more traditional forms of AI and machine learning work. And then once you've mastered that, move on to Gen AI and understand that. And then something that is really important in this new world of AI, it's around ethics. Understand how bias seeps into an AI machine learning system, understand how to mitigate that bias, understand how to create explainable AI so that these systems are no longer a black box. And then after that, look into MLOps and LLM ops. It's very similar to DevOps, but of course it's all about LLMs and getting those into production. So starting your journey with coding assistance, there are several tools on the market. The first, my favorite IDE, IntelliJ. There's an AI assistant with IntelliJ. Amazon Q, there's a plugin for IntelliJ. And Cursor, which is a full-fledged IDE. But all of these tools will help you write code, help you write unit tests, find bugs, fix vulnerabilities. So that is where you can start. I shared earlier that I love sharing knowledge and giving back to the community. I have a course on LinkedIn Learning. It's called AI-Paired Programming with Amazon Q. You can use this QR code to access that course for free. And you don't even need an AWS account to use Amazon Q. You just need to sign up for an AWS Builder ID. In that course, I have some Python examples. Sorry about that. But I also have Java examples that shows you how to use Amazon Q to migrate Java 8 code to Java 17. So check it out. And then in this new world, AI literacy is key. 83% of senior leaders say that they are recruiting for and looking for AI engineers that have experience with LLMs and integrating them into systems, but only 37% of those leaders say that they are training and upskilling their existing software engineers. So there's a shortage of engineers that know how to work with AI. So I'm launching a platform called Activate Labs, and you notice Activate is spelled with AI, to really solve this AI literacy gap. So use the QR code to join our wait list. And as I end today, AI won't replace software engineers yet. Probably not in our lifetimes. But in order for us to stay competitive and relevant, there are two things we have to do. Who remembers? We have to learn AI and build AI. Thank you.